Hello everyone and welcome to this video. So today I'll be bringing to you an Umamusume deck profile. For those of you that have seen my two box openings, I apologize for being late. For those of you that are new, don't worry about that and welcome. For those of you that are completely new, as in you don't know White Schwartz, welcome. I will try to explain aspects of this deck pertaining to sort of how the game of White Schwartz works. If I do go over some, I guess, lingo or terminology that you don't understand, I do apologize because I do come from a playing background. But with that said, I'll really quickly explain that White Schwartz is a game where you and an opponent take turns doing damage to each other, and you start from level 0 going to level 4, in which case whoever hits level 4 first loses the game. So hopefully that's not you. Now, with that preface out of the way, let's go ahead and get into the deck. So with this deck, you'll see a lot of staples, and of course we'll be starting with perhaps the best character that we have in the set, and that is this Sakura Chionoo. We starting at level 0, and she has very powerful utilities, or what would sort of be a staple in the Uma deck. So like this and another card are definitely staples. So going over the effects, it cannot be chosen by your opponent's effects. That means they can't remove it with effects. They have to swing and beat over this card. It has an ability pertaining to Inspire, which is the mechanic specific to Umamusume. I believe it's specific to Umamusume. Maybe a Japanese set might also have it, or an older set might also have it, but to my knowledge, it's in Umamusume. And how Inspire works is when you play another character down onto your board, this card, so Sakura Chionoo, could go underneath that card that you just played. So for example, this one is already on board. I play another copy and she goes underneath as a marker. This Inspire mechanic is really important for some of the powerful effects that we'll see later down in the deck profile. But that is just to briefly explain the Inspire mechanic. And its third ability is sort of what makes this such a good utility card, is its Brainstorm ability. You pay 1 resource and you turn it sideways. And what you do is you reveal the top 4 cards of your deck, and for each climax, which is a specific card or type of card that we'll see, for each of those you get to go into your discard and get characters back. This is the specific Brainstorm ability to her. There are different types of Brainstorm, but this is what we're running in this deck, and it's really good utility with the extra plus of having that Inspire mechanic. Next, we go over this Tonal Diamond. Oh, really quickly, deck composition is 50 cards. We will be running 4 of this Sakura Chionoo. 4 is the max capacity for any given card unless stated otherwise. And in a 50 card deck. This Tonal Diamond is also your other staple. So you'll see it in other Uma decks more or less. Its abilities are on play. On the turn that it's played, you get plus 1,500 power. So that helps her sort of beat over other characters, so like your opponent's characters. And also on attack, you get to check the top card of your deck to see if you'd rather leave it on top or put it at the bottom and hope for something better. Kinda, sorta. Its second ability is when its battle opponent becomes reverse, which is, so there's like upright, sideways, and then reversed. What happens is you get to choose one of your characters and rest it or put it sideways and put it into the back row. Back row position is where you usually have your utility, and it will generally be safe from your opponent's effects and battle. So we will also run 4 of these. Next, I personally like to run 4 of these Manhattan Cafes. They're 3-5 power, and they give your opponent's characters pay 2 resource to do an encore ability, which is when it leaves the field, you could and goes into the discard. You usually have to pay 3 resource, but this makes it so that your opponent could pay 2 instead. Generally, no one really does it because people usually have more stuff to play. Otherwise, you're in a really bad situation. Its second ability is you could rest one of your characters, and this gets a plus 1,000 power for the turn. So it's just extra power to help swing over your opponent's characters during your turn. And I run this because this deck also utilizes the color green, and I like Manhattan Cafe. Next up, we have 3 copies of this Maruzensky. It's also a staple in and generally any Uma deck, obviously because it has the Inspire mechanic. Once again, Inspire, when you play a character, if this is already on the field, it could go underneath as a marker, and we have a lot of cards, characters that have powerful effects that require markers underneath. And its first effect is during your opponent's attack phase, or at the start technically, you could put the top card of your deck into the discard. And if it is a character, it needs to specifically be a character. And it needs to be level 2 or lower. So if you perform that effect and you fulfill both conditions, when your opponent attacks into this card, you get to bounce it back into your hand. So it's more resource for you to play the next turn, and also saves the character, so you could use it for its Inspire mechanic in the future. And we run 3 copies of this. Or I do. Next, 2 copies of this specific Grass Wonder, also a staple, and we would only ever really need 2. Of course, you could always mess around with it. First ability, on play, you get to check the top 2 cards of your deck, and you get to rearrange them however you want. So if there's a ordering priority based off of the attacks, that would be an aspect to be aware of. Its second ability is on play from hand. You pay 1 resource and put the top card of your deck into your clock, which is your damage zone. And what you do is, when you pay its cost, you get to search your deck for a level 1 or lower character. So this helps you dig for important pieces, whether that be combo pieces or more utility or just an extra attacker if you're in a weird state. And 2 copies of this. Next, we also have 2 copies of this Grass Wonder. On play, it is pay 1 resource, discard a card from your hand, go into your discard, and choose a character to add back into your hand. So sort of like filtering your hand, sort of like cards that you won't be able to use, so like higher level cards that you're not able to play yet, or maybe your hand has too many climaxes and you need to get rid of them, or just digging for pieces that you'd want. And when you do that, you also give another character plus 1,000 power. She could not give it to herself. Its second ability, you've heard it multiple times, Inspire. So what you could potentially do is you have an important piece out already. You play this, you salvage, give that other character plus 1,000 power. You probably salvage something that needs a marker, in which case you play it down and this immediately goes underneath as a marker. When I say salvage, that's a kind of like a game term. It just means add something from discard back into hand. And once again, 2 copies. Next we have this Austin Machan. It is in red. Color kind of matters. We'll get into that later. But Austin Machan is in the middle position of your center stage. So there's a front row and a back row. And the front row has a left, right, and a middle. So this needs to be in the middle to gain 1,000 power. And its second ability is on play. You pay 1 resource. You discard a specific type of card that is called a climax. And what you do is you go into your discard to add a climax back into your hand. We in the game community call this a climax swap. So you're exchanging one card that isn't useful for the correct one that you need. And we only run one. You could mess with the numbers because this is powerful and good utility, but I just run one of this in here. Next, we move on to level 1, and this is where color starts to become relevant. At higher levels, we need to have a specific color requirement to fulfill the on play from hand requirement. So we will run 2 of this Mejiro Mcqueen. So its effect during your turn, if you have another Umamusume character, it gains plus 6,000 power, or plus 3,000, equaling up to 6,000 power. And then its other ability is during the turn that it was placed from hand onto the board. What happens is when it attacks, if you have a marker underneath, you get to salvage or add a character from your discard back into your hand. And funnily enough, she herself is also a character that has the Inspire mechanic. So if, let's say, you do the effect and then your opponent doesn't beat over it, and you play something that also needs a marker, she herself also fulfills the condition to go underneath a newly played character as a marker. And we run 2 of those. Extra utility as well. Next, we have 2 of this Mejiro Bright. There is a, I guess, mistranslation or typo in the character's effect. It's on play from hand. You need 2 or more other characters. If you fulfill that condition, you could discard 2 cards from your hand and draw up to 2 characters. This is where the error comes in. It should just be draw 2 cards. I believe it has been fixed, so you don't have to worry about drawing specifically characters. It's just draw 2. And she is really good for digging for more cards. Once again, going into the example of if you have higher level cards or too many climaxes and you want to get rid of them for something better and more playable. So it's really good utility, and obviously she has the Inspire mechanic. So 2 of these copies. Most decks would probably run 3, since the utility and the Inspire mechanic are just that important. Next, I have 4 of these Mejiro Mcqueens, or this Mejiro Mcqueen, and this is what we call a climax combo. So first ability, during my turn, gains plus 3,000 power if I have another Uma character, so it'll be base 7,000. It's really easy to fulfill that condition. Its second ability is what I said previously, climax combo. So I'll explain the combo. So when this attacks, if Welcome Back Ace is in the climax area, so the zones of your playmat of your board. If this climax is in the climax area, and I have 2 or more other Umamusume characters, when I could look at up to top 3 of my deck. I don't have to go through all 3. I could stop at 1. And what I do is I add an Umamusume character from that selection into my hand. Reveal it to your opponent, obviously. And then put the rest into waiting room, which is the discard. And if there is a marker underneath this card, I could choose a level 2 or higher character from my discard and add it back into hand. So the first ability lets you go through essentially 3 cards and add a character. If you don't hit a character, that does feel kind of bad. Secondary part of the combo, if you have a marker, salvage your level 2 or higher character. So you're building for your level 2 and level 3 endgame. And we run 4 of the Mcqueens. And obviously 4 of the climaxes that combo with the Mcqueen. Climax-wise, in the deck, you could have up to 8. You could have less than 8. But generally, no one has less than 8 because climax also fulfills a core component of negating damage. And obviously, the goal of the game is to try to hit your opponent to level 4 through damage first. And we need blue because the combo and the character herself are in the color blue, so you need to make sure you fulfill the color requirement. Next, we head up to level 2, and we have a copy of this Fuji Kiseki. So it's very good utility on play from hand onto the stage. You discard the top 3 cards of your deck. If there's a climax amongst those 3, you get to choose one of your opponent's level 3 or lower character in the front row and put it into their discard. So it's just a free snipe, potentially, to get rid of one of your opponent's potentially annoying cards. And then its second ability, when this card becomes reversed, so as I said, they're standing, rested, and reversed. So when you attack into something and it's weak, it gets reversed. She gets reversed. What happens is, if this card's battle opponent is higher level than your opponent's level, you could put that card into your opponent's resource and they pay out the bottom card of their resource. So it's sort of hard removal for if your opponent is cheating something out earlier than they're allowed to, essentially. And we only run one copy because it's utility, and rarely should you ever face such a situation where you need to counteract something specific. It's a really specific utility, which happens like once in a blue moon, and it's like, if you get it, good, you could get rid of it. If you don't get it, you're probably not missing too much. Next, we are running 2 copies of this Sweep Tosho. I really like this card because it has a passive ability, essentially, where all of your other Umamusume characters get plus 1000 power. Obviously, it has the Inspire mechanic, and its third ability is to rest her, to look at the top 2 of your deck and rearrange. So once again, that goes into sort of like attack order to choose what you want to reveal first, what you want to reveal second, or going back to your level 0 Brainstormer that checks specifically for climaxes. If I check and I see a climax in the top 2, you're definitely going to Brainstorm, for example. One important note about the Sweep Tosho is it has a cost of 1 resource when you play it on hand, similar to the Fuji Kiseki. Generally, everything level 0 and level 1, so below 2 generally, has a cost of 0. But this has a cost of 1, so when you play it out, you need to pay 1 resource. With its Inspire mechanic, what happens is when it goes underneath as a marker, you get to refund that resource by putting the top card of your deck into your resource pile. So 2 copies, really good utility, and I'm a personal big fan of this. Next, we have this Tosin Jordan. This is what we call a backup. So I would have to explain second ability, which is where it's relevant. Backup to 2,500 power at level 2. So at level 2, when your opponent swings into one of your characters, you have a backup opportunity where you could pay 1 resource and put this into your discard from your hand. And what happens is that character that is being attacked into gets an additional 2,500 power. So it's an opportunity to preserve your board. And it also has a second effect where when you use this card's backup, you could pay 1 resource, discard an additional character from your hand, and then put one of your characters that's on board into the discard area. So it's pretty resource invested, but it does have a really good effect for its cost, and that is you get to put your opponent's higher level card at the bottom of their deck. Now, generally when this happens is when your opponent attacks and you want to mitigate damage by removing one of their attackers, and the attacker being removed has to specifically be a higher level character than they are allowed to play. So it's good utility, which is why we run 1 of it. Next, I have this Asian Flash. It's also a backup. This time it will be 3,000 power, and you will be able to play it at level 2. Backup effect, obviously, pay 1, discard her. Pay 1 resource, discard her into the discard. And it also has an additional effect when you use this backup. This time there's no additional cost. And the effect is the character that is receiving the power bonus when your opponent attacks into you, and that character gets the power bonus. That character also gets the effect where when the opponent gets reversed, it goes into memory. Memory is sort of like the exiled zone or like removed from play zone. Hardly do players interact with it. But there are some effects that work in the memory zone. I don't think Uma has this though. And you're just like removing your opponent's stuff. Next we have this Fine Motion. So backup 2/5, use it at level 2. This additional backup ability is when you use it, you get to reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a character, you get to add it to your hand, and then you have to discard something. We call this a Leaf counter. And it's good to sort of like dig through your deck, and who knows, maybe you'll add something good. Like, let's say you have a hand with like a climax, and you reveal a character, you add the character, and you discard the climax. So you're getting rid of climax in your hand, so hopefully it goes back into your next deck rotation. So that way you'll cancel and negate damage more often. And 1 of utility. Next, I like to run this Daitaku Helios. So it's a level 2 and it's a 2 cost, so the cost is getting slightly steeper. What happens is when you play this on board, it has an on-play effect. If you have 4 or more other characters, so this essentially needs to be the last character that you summon on the board. What you do is you essentially refund 1 of its resource by putting it, because you played this last, you have 4 more other characters and then you play it, you get to put the top card of your deck into your resource pile. So basically she refunds 1 of the cost for herself. The first ability technically is during your opponent's turn. This gains plus 1,000 power for each of your other Uma. It does not count herself, so at most it'll be getting 4,000 power if you have a full board. And its third ability is when you declare an attack that is a direct attack, so there's nothing across from it. So you declare a direct attack, you get to put a character from your discard into your resource pile. So it's just more resource generation. Because the end game combo does require a lot of resources. And I believe lastly, before we head to level 3, I run 2 of this Gold City. It's really, I like this a lot because of its second ability, which is called Great Performance. In Japanese, it's called Bodyguard. So what happens is when this is placed from hand on the stage, it gets the ability in cross turn until the end of your opponent's turn. And the ability is during your opponent's turn, it gains plus 2,000 power. So extra power is always good. And also gets great performance, the ability that I've mentioned. What great performance means essentially is when your opponent attacks, because the front row has 3 zones, normally they would be attacking the character directly across from them. However, great performance means everything needs to attack into this. So, and you think, okay, 2,000, that's kind of like not much power because the power on the card itself is just only 2,500, so that's only 4,500. But it also has its first ability, which is if you have 2 or more other characters, so not counting yourself, 2 or more others, it gains plus 8,000 power. So that's 8,000 plus 4,500, that's 12,500, I believe. So anything that your opponent attacks into this generally would not be able to survive. And if you couple that with all the backup support, it sort of like guarantees that your opponent can't really get through. Especially if we have the level 2 Sweep Tosho giving it plus 1000 power as well. And I run 2 of this because ideally I would just use like the level 1 combo to loop this back into hand from the discard. Heading on to level 3, so that would have been 42 cards. So obviously this will make it 46, and then the climax that combos with it will make up to 50. So I run this special week as the end combo. So the special week is on play from hand. You get to heal the top card of your damage zone or your clock into the discard. And this card gets plus 3000 power for the turn. So she'll be 12. Pretty decent power. But what we're really interested in is the climax combo. Climax combo being the very powerful effect when you have the climax in play. So what happens is on attack, I need to... on attack, if I have the correct climax, which is this one, I could pay 2 resource. If I have a marker and another Uma character, so those are the requirements. I need to have this climax, I need to have another character, and I need to have a marker underneath, which is why Inspire is really important in most Uma decks. What happens is I pay the 2 resource, I fulfill the conditions, I look at the top 3 cards of my opponent's deck, and I get to choose either a character or event, and then I also get to choose a climax, and I get to put them directly into my opponent's clock or damage zone. So this is a really funny effect, in my opinion, because as I've mentioned previously, having climaxes in deck is good because it helps cancel and mitigate damage. I have now turned it into more damage. And going into a bit of game mechanic sense is sometimes people might run something called anti-burn. Burn is sort of like a dubbed effect, which is sort of like doing non-battle based damage. So sort of like pinging, for example. So if people run anti-burn, normally affects that like, let's say on attack, burn 1 or deal 1 damage. Normally those don't take effect. This special week, the effect would still go on because technically, and this is sort of like a game ruling, and I really love this about Weiss, is technically you're not dealing damage, you are moving cards from one zone to the other. So because of that, this does not have to worry about anti-burn. Now the downside to this combo specifically is if you look at top 3 and there are only characters, you only get to choose 1. If you look at top 3 and there are only 3 and there are only climaxes, you get to choose 1 because once again it's 1 character and 1 climax. But of course the funny thing is you go through 3 climaxes. Like yes, you put 1 into your opponent's damage and then the rest needs to go into discard, but you also went through 3 of your opponent's climaxes. And not to mention, there's still the attack that hasn't gone through yet. This effect is just its effect. There's still the damage that the card herself gets to do. So 4 of those, and then of course 4 of the climaxes that combo with it. And I just realized I never went over the effects of the climaxes. So these 2 climaxes this has been a while since I've like used the actual term. I believe it's arch. Some of us call it pants because it looks like a pair of pants. What happens is when you trigger it, which is when you attack and reveal it from the top of your deck, you get to perform its effect, which is when this card triggers, you could go into your discard and add a climax back. When you play it into your climax area, when you play the climax into your climax area, it gives everything plus 1000 power and plus 1 soul. And then this one is called Choice. I'm pretty sure that is the actual name for it. What you do is you look for a character. When you trigger it, you look for a character in your discard that has this icon on the top right, and you get to either put it back into your hand or put it into your resource. And then the Choice Climax, when you play it into your Climax area, gives everything plus 1,000 power, plus 1 soul. Power to beat over your opponent's characters. Soul determines how much damage you do. And the soul is right down here. So I really hope you've enjoyed this profile. And I'll definitely do another one. Most likely we'll do another one. And that will be the more common deck that everyone's going to be playing. And if you want to learn more of like how to play, I'll try to make a more detailed like gameplay wise video. I'll have like the playmat to describe all the different zones for those of you that are just getting into Ice, or maybe Uma motivated you to actually try playing the game rather than just collecting. In my opinion, it is a fun game. So thank you very much. Please feel free to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and hope to see you sooner than I usually make videos. Bye.